So I think we can save the union, but I also think Trump can impose martial law in the next 4 years.
Welcome back to The Unknowns. My name is Charlie Stone, and today we have Anthony Scaramucci. Very pleased to have you as a guest. You have a lot of nicknames. Are there some nicknames that you have that you don't like and some that you like?
I mean, which ones do you like, Charlie? You tell me, because at the end of the day, I've been called so much worse than whatever my nicknames are that I'm okay with all of them.
Well, I don't know, like Mooch. You seem to use that.
I'm good with Mooch.
You good with Mooch? I'm not going to call you Mooch. I just was curious because sometimes people call me nicknames, and I'm like, I don't like it.
What's your nickname, Charlie, that you like? Do you like any of the Chip?
I don't like. I've never been called Chip.
Okay,
but that's an interesting name.
Old Chip.
And Chuck, never a Chuck.
Yeah, no, you don't look
and then Charles, when I was in trouble, my mother is gone, but I still shake when I hear Charles because I think I'm in trouble.
Yeah, but you don't look like a Chuck, though. I think you're all right. I think you're all right with Charlie, actually.
Okay, let's just stay with Charlie. Well, we appreciate your time. And before we begin to get into your illustrious career, what are you up to now?
I mean, the good news for me is like when you get fired like I did, and believe it or not, I've been fired almost 8 years ago from the White House. And if you own your own company, you just go back to your own company. No drama.
You and I share that.
I mean, people have
I'm an entrepreneur too.
There's been an attempt to cancel me from the left when I worked for Donald Trump. Then I got fired from Donald Trump. A couple of years later, I disavowed him. There's been an attempt to cancel me from the right. And so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's out there left to try to cancel me, but I'm still here. Sorry, guys.
Well, let's dig into that because you share, I think, a record of 10 days as the
11.
White House. 11.
Yeah, look, don't chip me out of that last day. I think it's an important day. I got fired on that last day.
I know, but was it a full 24 or was it like 9 hours?
I left the White House at 3 o'clock.
Okay, I don't,
fine. If you got to the White House at 6 a.m. that day and you left at 3 o'clock, it's sort of a full day. And by the way, when the president is going off on me on Truth Social and calling me a major loser and things like that, he does reference 11 days. I think he should be the official score. Okay, I know he lies about most of the numbers in his life, and he does all kinds of exaggerating.
I'll let the comment section decide.
All right, you'll let the comment
section. Is it 10, 10.7, 11?
Let me provide some advocacy. You sound if you work a full day on the 21st, and you literally work a full day on the 31st.
All right.
It's not 31 minus 21. Count the days. It's 11 days.
Okay. All right. I will give that to you.
So 11 is a lucky number for me. It always shows up in my life, so I'm pretty sure it was 11 days.
But it definitely wasn't 12 days. Like, we know that for sure.
It wasn't, but I do want, that is one of my wishes, like
that you hit 12?
If a president gets back into the White House that actually likes me and they want to let me like wash dishes or like,
you'll do 12
or something like that. I just want to get to an even dozen days. I think it would be important.
All right. Well, let's you can have your own vision board that in your kitchen and tell the universe you want that, and that might just happen for you.
Yeah, I'm manifesting it.
Manifest your destiny. Mooch's destiny. But just take me back. Like, you obviously have a good spirit about that experience, but what was that like? 11 days and they're like, look, everybody says if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog, right? Because
even the dogs are biting now in Washington, though. I mean, there's really nothing left. I mean, people go after each other hard. I mean, one of the funniest things that Trump did a couple of things during that period of time that were very memorable for me. So one of them happened on a Wednesday, Charlie. You know how I know? Because I was only there for one Wednesday. So that's how I know. Okay. So he was like fingering Paul Ryan and telling him that he worked for him. And I remember Paul just looking at him very confused and was like, I actually don't work for you. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm in a separate article of the Constitution. So that was a funny thing. And then at one time we were in the study. I think we were having a sandwich together in the study off the Oval Office. And he said something to me I thought was great. He said, I thought I was a killer. I mean, I was a billionaire and I was dealing with other killers and real estate in New York. And he looks at me, he goes, Anthony, the secretaries here would kill those people. This town is so rough that the assistants will stab you in the eyeball with an ice pick, and then they'll drop your eyeball in a martini glass, and they're still talking to you. You're bleeding at the table. They're still talking to you like nothing happened. And he didn't expect Washington to be what it was, but I think he's ready for it now. Okay, I don't think they're ready for him as much as They were ready for him in 17. I don't think they're ready for, I don't think, let me put it this way. He was not ready for them in 17. They're not ready for him now. He is a reptile brother, okay? He has a reptilian personality where you're in his field of vision. If you're useful to him, he'll be charming. If you're not useful to him, he'll discard you like you're a piece of tissue and sometimes toilet paper. And he'll hit you with the car to take you out of his field of vision if that's also necessary.
Let's say that someone young called you, because it seems to me there's some youngins in the White House today, and said, Mr. Scaramucci, I'd love your advice. How do I deal with the president? How do I best ensure that I'm not fired, that I serve my nation, but I'm also not fired?
I would say to those people, stay away from the president. I would say to those people, have as limited interaction with him as you can. I think that the proclivity for people that work in the White House or the West Wing or the old executive office building, airtime with the president is like oxygen. Okay, it's like airtime for a news anchor. They want to be on TV. They want to be present in the president's face and so forth. I would say get out of his way and focus on whatever the portfolio is that you're working on for the American people. Focus on serving the American people, not yourself. And I think it's a wonderful privilege to serve the American people. But if you're in Washington and you get too close to Donald Trump, you're going to get burned. He will wipe out the closest people to him over the next 4 years. He'll disintegrate them. And so, it'll be Elon, J.D. Vance, they'll all get hit by the Trump bus. It just naturally happens because that's him. He's now taking security clearances away from people. He asked Esper and Milley to organize a missile strike against General Soleimani from Iran. Iran has put a fatwa up against those people. Trump doesn't like those people anymore, but they took his orders, served the American people, served the American public, worked towards making the American people more safe. And now, because they're in a tiff with Donald Trump, he's taking their security clearances away. So I don't know, you tell me, is that the right thing to do? Is he going to try to take Kamala Harris's security clearance away? She was the former vice president. She is entitled to protection for a period of time. What are we doing? And so this sort of norm breaking is really unhealthy. I get that we probably have fraud in the government. I get that we have redundancy. I get that we need to re-engineer, refresh our government, but we also should have a process because it is a democracy. We shouldn't go rogue on the whole thing.
As you look back on history and your personal experience with President Trump, is there a historical figure that sort of stands out and says, Trump is like that one?
So it's like if Huey Long had a baby with Charles Lindbergh, and then they both died in Charles's airplane. They got crashed out, and they let Roy Cohn raise the baby. That's what we got going on here. That's Donald Trump. Who is the most significant political figure in the world? It's Donald Trump. Moreover, who has empowered, emboldened, and enabled Donald Trump more than anybody? That would be Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden, by beating Donald Trump in 2020, weirdly elongated the Trump era. So he operated a shadow-like oppositional narrative against Joe Biden for 4 years. And then he reascended to power. So instead of just being a garden variety 8-year termed out president, he's now on the presidential stage for 12 years, which is half of a generation. And he's also been emboldened by being in the wilderness for 4 years, and which is why he's hitting the establishment as hard as he is 16, 17 days into the presidency.
So in your analysis of how he thinks, how he negotiates, when his new Gaza, the new, vacation place and dispelling 1.8 million people, is he just messing with people's heads while he does other work?
A sideshow. Yeah, no. If you said, I got to flood the zone and I got to do 200 things at the same time, all of which you'll be outraged by, so a result of which you can really only respond to 10 of them, and the courts will block half of them, but some of these outrageous things will get through. I will have been successful. So the question is for Trump supporters, does Trump want to help the system, or does Trump want to hurt the system? What does he want to do? Help the system or hurt the system? And if you guys think he wants to help the system, okay, so how is he helping the system? By putting tariffs on, taking tariffs off, saying that he's going to be in Gaza, having his people have to say, no, he doesn't really mean that. Like, what is the goal? What is the end game? If you're telling me that you're going to unleash Elon Musk to right-size the government, I do believe, Charlie, that the government does need to be right-sized. But we are in a democracy, so hire somebody that's an OMB chief from the Democrats, hire somebody that's an OMB chief from the Republicans, maybe get 2 judges, make it bipartisan, and say, look, we're going to let Musk do this. He's an extremely talented guy, but there's going to be some checks and balances or some oversight of the process, and the information that he's uncovering or the things that he's doing is going to be shared in a bipartisan way to the Senate Appropriations Committee or something like that. My point is, running roughshod over everybody is not going to help improve the system. It's going to just create more cynicism and more distrust in the system.
You raise an interesting point that Trump has literally had a shadow term for the last 4 years. Do you think Democrats need to take a page out of his playbook, and somebody needs to announce right now, today, to be the Democratic nominee? It's what do the Democrats need to do to counter this? Because right now they just seem silent and aimless.
Barack Obama once said that he was a member of 6 disorganized parties. I am a Democrat. And the point he was making is there's like 6 crazy factions, that are coalescing under the aegis, under the shield of the Democratic Party. So what they should do, I don't think they can do because they're too fractionated of a group of people. But what they should do is they should get together, call a meeting, and they should get AOC together with whoever the centrists are, and they should bring in Chris Christie and Liz Cheney, and they should say, guys, we got to get the old Republicans involved with the new Democrats, and we have to reformulate an opposition party, and we have to end some of the hypocritical behavior on our side so that we can really stand as champions for democracy. And so here's some hypocritical Democratic behavior. Joe Biden, I'm Barack Obama. You're not allowed to run against Hillary Clinton. Stand down. That's undemocratic. Joe Biden, we're going to block and stop every primary. We can't let Bobby Kennedy run in the Democrat Party, and we're going to cancel the New Hampshire primary. That's hypocritical. I'm blowing out because I can't add anymore and I can't recognize people's names and faces. And all my staff is going to lie to everybody about that, but you're going to discover it in June of 2024. And so a result of which I'm going to have to drop out of the race, but we're going to anoint somebody to be the nominee as opposed to go through a democratic process. Oh, but by the way, Donald Trump is the threat to democracy. Look over there. Trump, he's the threat to democracy.
Do you think that the bones, the marrow of the Constitution, I mean, there's been some courts that have now begun to say, hey, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Is there enough in our bones, our constitutional bones, to make sure the Union survives?
I don't know the answer, but I know these things go capriciously, and I know that they go randomly, and I know that they go on the march. So the way to influence it is to get out there and provide a voice of advocacy for the Union. And the way to influence it is to provide a voice of reason and try to convince people that rather than be isolated into their tribe, they need to do something transformative and think about the country in terms of getting policies in place that are right or wrong, as opposed to left or right. So is this policy good for America? Yes or no? Not as, it's a left-leaning policy. I'm a lefty. It's a good policy, even though the policy sucks, or the same thing on the side of the Republicans. So I think we can save the Union, but I also think Trump can impose martial law in the next 4 years.
How would that happen?
He's moving very hard on the institutions of the government. He's got Kash Patel now in position. He has a very strong supporter in Pete Hegseth at defense. I don't know. He's got the judiciary, most of the judiciary, especially the Supreme Court, with him. And I don't know. I mean, a lot of people think that the Chechnya terrorist attacks that happened in the late East were false flags that led to the rise of Vladimir Putin. Trump doesn't like the democracy. He doesn't like it. Read Project 2025. They want to strengthen the executive branch and liquidate the system, liquidate the checks and balances in the system. Musk, Thiel, J.D. Vance, they're all acolytes of a guy named Curtis Jarvin that doesn't believe in the democracy. He believes in a monarchy. And so one of the ways to stay in office is to declare martial law, stay in office. Look at what Erdogan or Orban, look at what these guys have done. And if you're telling me, because it's America, that it can't happen here, Sinclair Lewis wrote a book. The title of the book was Can't Happen Here. And the point of the book is it could. And so, I take the guy seriously. All the nonsense, take him seriously and not literally or figuratively. Take him seriously. You don't like your democracy. You don't like your system. Take him seriously. He's the most un-American president that we put in power because he doesn't like the system that was put in place by the founders. And the great irony is that system has led to great success and prosperity for the people of the country because it's a decentralized system. We know when there's an autocracy, Charlie, the rich at the top, they get all the lucre with their buddies. And then in an autocracy, the leader sets the rules and the laws become unpredictable. He goes after his dissent, so the free speech goes away. You got dudes that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars that are afraid of Trump. They won't speak up. They think he's an asshole. They know he's an asshole. You got people in the Congress that know he's an asshole. They're afraid of him and won't speak up. And that's the chilling effect of people that think and act like Donald Trump.
Do you think there's some credence to the argument that both parties are responsible for Donald Trump? The two-party system that through gerrymandering and ballot access has sort of made their party systems not competitive. Their districts where a Republican will continue to win no matter what based on gerrymandering, and the same for the Democrats. That doesn't seem very democratic. Is that somewhat the result of the anger at Washington that nothing gets done because we have Coke and Pepsi and that's it?
Yes, is the answer to the question. And I would say to you that the fight really started to go in this direction. Ross Perot caused it. Because what ended up happening is they got the daylight scared out of them. Perot, 18.9% of the vote, too much of the vote for the duopoly. And so they said to each other, we got to block third parties from getting access to these ballots. We got to block third parties from rising. And then they allowed each other the gerrymandered districts. You probably know what Operation Red Map is. That was something that they put together in the 90s that really worked successfully for the Republicans with the gerrymandering. And then they got very, very overconfident because the Congress has a 14% approval rating, but a 95% incumbency reelection. So it's like you got a really shitty Yelp rating, but you're the chef in the restaurant and you get to stay in the job forever. And you can serve schlop in the restaurant and people can tell you how much they hate the food, but you're never going anywhere. Yeah, and by the way, you'll be taking a walker and we'll get you in a wheelchair and an old folks home. You can still vote. And the people are tired of it, man. People are like, we don't like it. And Trump represents them. You can hate Trump, not hate Trump, whatever. He is an orange wrecking ball for these people. Hey, this system's not working for me anymore, man. You guys are insider trading inside the Congress. You gave $1 trillion away to your banker buddies, and I'm struggling with my mortgage. Let's send Donald Trump into your midst, and let's hopefully he blows you to smithereens. And that's what's going on. So yes, the answer is yes. Of course that created it.
So appreciate your time today. I have one last question. The show is called The Unknowns. I want you to pause and tell us something that is unknown about you, you've never shared to anybody, maybe family, about Anthony Scaramucci?
I would say the thing that was probably unknown about me, because it was unknown to myself, is that you can't underestimate the following, or impact that you're having on others, but how circumstances are impacting you. And so what I mean by that is when I got fired from the White House, it was such an ass kicking, Charlie, and it was such an annihilation of me that in a lot of ways it made me a better person. I'm a different person today than I was prior to that. I think I'm more empathetic. I think I'm more psychologically minded, but I think I'm more grounded on what is important versus what isn't important. And I think I had my ego driving a lot of my decision makings prior to that. And so sometimes you need a good ass kicking, okay, to straighten yourself out. And so I don't know if that's known to a lot of people about me or not, but it was unknown to me. It was unknown to me that I was really not on the path that I should be on. And I think the universe knocked me to my ass to create a course correction.